plans for a Mother Emanuel Memorial are moving forward. Today, I talk one-on-one with Mother Emanuel Memorial Foundation Board co-chair John Darby for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. John Darby, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you. Good to be here.
You're very welcome. Well, obviously, you need no introduction. You're one of the most powerful and influential people here in Charleston, because obviously you're the president and CEO of the Beach Company, and we know you own several buildings and shopping centers around Charleston. But you also are the Mother Emanuel Memorial Foundation Board of Co-Chair. And I know that just recently you all gave us some new details about the upcoming memorial. Let me ask you this. What's new? What's now?
Well, what's new now is we're very close to raising the funds to get started. We have money in hand or pledges close to $7 million, and those would include a lead gift from Robert and Janice McNair. The Spalding Pelosi Foundation gave a major gift. The Darby and Wade families, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. The city of Charleston is pledged just recently $2 million towards the memorial. North Charleston has pledged $250,000. We have $1 million request to the county, which we feel good about. And the big hurdle is the state. We've asked the state to contribute $10 million in their upcoming budget. And we would have known by now, but because of the COVID-19 virus, the budget has been pushed, and we won't know until close to the end of the year. But with the state's contribution, we will move forward. We could start construction, and by next year, and perhaps have the memorial in place early 2022.
And obviously the memorials for the 9 victims and obviously the 3 survivors that, obviously were involved with the deadly shooting that happened on June 17, 2015. What does Mother Emanuel mean to you?
Well, it's really new to me. The family that goes back, 100 years has always had a relationship with the AME community. I grew up in Olive Palms and Mount Pleasant, and knew many families that were part of the AME church, mostly from the Olive Branch Church there in Mount Pleasant.
Right.
But the Rivers, the Greggs, the Manigos, the Whites, the Bowmans, the Smiths, I could go on. I don't know life without the AME community. And neither does our family or the company. We have some employees over the years that have been involved with the AME Church. So when the shooting happened, we reached out to Mother Emanuel and just said, "Look, we're here to help, and let us know when that time is right, and maybe we could do something for the church." And those conversations led to the memorial.
And, the pastor of the Church of Mother Emanuel said this recently to Channel 4. He said this, quote, "We must move with a sense of urgency. It gives us and creates a space for us to have a conversation." What other conversations are going on right now when it comes to this memorial?
Well, we all wish it was in place. If you look at, there's been more than a dozen shootings since Mother Emanuel, and most all of them have reached out to Mother Emanuel for guidance, after their tragic events. And a good example is the synagogue in Pittsburgh.
Right.
The rabbi there has become a great friend of the Mother Emanuel. And he and Reverend Manning have teamed up and have been on TV and specials and talks, throughout the country about, racism and the issues that we're confronted with today. So we think if the memorial was in place today, it would be a place that we could have this conversation safely, unite, and one of the missions of the memorial is to eradicate racism.
As a matter of fact, the memorial will have a survivor's garden, which will have 5 trees, one for each survivor of the tragedy. A model also shows 2 friendship benches with a basin in between on which the names of the 9 victims will be engraved. Part of the memorial will stretch along one side of the church, with the remainder in part of the church's parking lot. John, let me ask you this. Does it appear to you as if the structure will definitely eliminate space from the church's ground?
So, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
Yeah, does it appear to you as if the structure will definitely eliminate space on the church's grounds?
It will. The church will lose some parking places, and we're acquiring a small tract behind the church.
Okay.
To pick up those parking spaces, and we will reconfigure the parking lot so that it can adequately park the members of the church.
And I know, obviously, you said this too, quote, estimate it to be around $7 million, obviously, with the building of the memorial. Maybe some inflation, that is. And I know you just mentioned this just a second ago, but the foundation is asking the state of South Carolina for $10 million, obviously, which will go towards construction, security, maintenance, and outreach programs. Where exactly in the plan will the inflation happen?
Well, the estimates we have for the cost of construction was just shy of $7 million. And just an increase of cost materials, labor, and so forth. We've added a contingency there. So we estimate it to be close to the $7 million mark.
And what is that contingency that you're looking at right now?
The contingency?
Yes, sir.
I don't know exactly. It's usually about 5-10% of the cost. And we may increase that if it takes longer to build the memorial. But we feel comfortable that $7 million number is adequate.
And let me ask you another question. Is it not a possibility that too much of the historical structure of the church is being compromised by at least 2/3 of this addition in your mind?
Well, I that's a hard one to answer. I mean, one of the hardest decisions was where should the memorial go? And we looked at other places. We looked at the parking lot. We looked at on the other side of the church. And what happened through this whole process as we interviewed designers, artists, architects throughout the United States. What happened through that process? Because we interviewed, we had a short list of about 6, and either one of them would have done a fantastic job. I mean, they were world-class designers. And as you know, we picked Michael Arai to design, Ground Zero in New York. But what we realized was this was going to be a national memorial, and people would come from all over the world to see it. And if you were visiting Charleston, this would be at the top of your list to visit. And we felt like the entire campus of the AME Church, in a sense, was the memorial. The whole campus was a memorial in a lot of ways, but mainly because of the history of the church and what it's been through for so many years. So that's, we ended up all agreeing that that's where it should go. Now, at the end of the day, it's church property, and the church needed to agree on that, and the bishop and the hierarchy, and they have.
And what exactly is the main goal of placing this memorial apart from any other memorials that has been presented or actually offered?
I'm not familiar with the other ones that have been offered, or I know there's one at the airport,
Oh yeah.
and I think there's others, but I'm not as familiar with those that I am this one, obviously.
And I know that you obviously said early in the interview that you all kind of looked at other locations. What exactly were those locations for the memorial?
Gosh, there was a conversation about should it be across the street where the Gill Yard is, and there was discussions that were very short about Marion Square.
Oh.
Should it be just somewhere else on the peninsula of Charleston? We spent a lot of time designing and talking about the memorial on the other side of the church. And it was actually Michael Arad that came back and he said, this is where it needs to be. This is where it will have the greatest impact. And we'll get great use. So that's where it ended up going.
And you said this quote, "Now more than ever, people need a place to unite in peace. This memorial offers sacred grounds for safe dialogue because the most important action we can take right now is to come together and facilitate conversation for change." What should a dialogue be about Mother Emanuel in 5 years in your mind?
Well, if you recall when the shooting happened, the family members, the community, everyone reacted in a way that wasn't expected. There was the forgiveness, there was this love over hate, and everyone felt that was a time that we should unite and not fight each other. And that's a lot of what this is about. You can come to this memorial. There's benches there. There's a lot of symbolic meaning to the memorial of how not only the terrible thing that happened, but how the community reacted to it.
And what other action will the committee take to bring about change in regards to race?
Well, one thing that that the memorial, part of the mission is to eradicate racism and to unite with love over hate. And one thing that when you look at the proposed Mother Emanuel Memorial is we as a country got a lot of work to do. And we feel that this is a good place to start. There's a lot of history. There's a lot of understanding that needs to be retold of the struggle of the Black community and all the way back from slavery and so forth. And that ties into the outreach program with the memorial. It's an opportunity to tell the story in a calm way, that the truth of what happened hundreds of years ago and even 5 years ago.
John Darby, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Okay. Thank you. Take care. Oh, and
yes, sir.
We encourage your audience to go to Emmanuel9.org and donate. We're getting donations daily, and every penny counts. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome, John. Thank you.
Okay. See you.